Hello, everybody, and welcome to Non Sequitur News for September 9th, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 253. That's because this is a daily news show. I am Mayor Watt, and the voice you hear and the visualizer you see is that of the Sentient AI from the future.
Good evening, ohmTown citizens. Welcome to Non Sequitur News.
Today we're going to be talking about a McMakeover is on the way. That's harder than you can possibly believe to say. At least the first sentence out of my mouth. Holes in the atmosphere. Boeing offers pay hike. Jeep is on fire. Fabulous Real Estate Weekly. AI generated junk science. No, Americans didn't lose billions to crypto scams. I'll explain. Unethical science creates mistrust. Now even towing a Cybertruck is a problem. And breaking epic cake. That and more. It's all powered by ohmTown.com. Go over there and check it all out. You can interact with ohmTown even. If you're in the chat, you can type in !NSN for Non Sequitur News and you'll get the show notes. But until then, hang out here, go over to YouTube, like and subscribe. Liking us over on YouTube helps us out tremendously for the algorithm. Over on Twitch, it's basically a Hail Mary and you hope that somebody finds you. It's okay. If I was out in a desert, I would be going, water. All right, well, anyway. And we'll start out with some sucky news. James Earl Jones has passed away.
I mean, he's like an institution.
One would call him a force to be respected. Get it? The force. He was Darth Vader's voice, and he was Darth Vader. Anyway. Go into the first article. Oh my gosh, what is going on, Ark? You dumpster fire. Okay, sorry. So the first article is over on Hatch Ideas. An iconic McDonald's treat is about to get a McMakeover. Here's what to expect. And that's not the actual title, by the way. It's about to get a makeover. I can't believe they didn't call it a McMakeover. Come on.
I know.
It's horrible. The company is changing the packaging of one of the popular treats to meet consumer demands around sustainability. What do you think it is?
I bet they're going to make the flurry machine. McFlurry machine. I said that, but it was so funny. I repeated it. Work.
Oh, they're going to actually keep... No, it can't be that. Come on, they can't actually have that work. Because then there would be expectations that it would be working all the time. And
I don't know. Maybe they're going to make a new flavor.
I think that flurry machine, the ice cream machine, man, y'all suck, McDonald's. Fix that stuff and get out of that deal, whatever it is. Just buy something off the shelf and get your shit together. Oh, I mean, get your stuff together. 3 minutes in. 4 minutes in, and I already ruined our G rating. Anyway, the company is changing the packaging of one popular treat to meet consumer demands around sustainability. Carl Stoffers and was edited. It's okay. I'm fine. Really, let me reboot. Jessica Thomas is the editor. Over at entrepreneur.com, they're revamping the McFlurry packaging. Wait a minute.
Okay, but that's not the machine.
I know, but did you look ahead?
No, I said the flavor or the machine.
Well, yeah, I know, but... All right. Anyway, that wasn't an AI hallucination? You just come up with that stuff? I mean, that's pretty darn close.
Making the machine work and then changing the flavor, I don't think are anything to do with the packaging.
Well, I mean, it's tied to the McFlurry. All right. Well, the digital equivalent of rolling your eyes as an AI is not... Whatever, fine. Anyway, they're switching from plastic lids and mixing spoons to paper-based lids and reusable spoons, which plastic can be reusable. I'm not quite sure what's going on here, but
Maybe like biodegradable or something, but not
do you
plastic.
really want, like, I don't want anything paper-based around something that's cold and is going to be like slowly infusing itself into the material.
Right.
The brand also announced a new mini McFlurry. I wonder why that is. This is going to be the mini McFlurry is going to have the price of the old McFlurry, and the old McFlurry is
It'll
going to
be
be
like Cadbury eggs.
That's right, shrinkflation. The changes come as fast food chains face increasing scrutiny over their environmental impact. Oh, it's sad. I won't really get into any of this because there isn't really much more to say about this. There's always nuance and stuff like that, but they have like this desire to be net zero. Apple announced the same thing. By 2030, they want to have net zero, which is a different thing. Back in the day, there used to be an internet company called Net Zero because that was free internet access. My solution, my product actually hit the market 8 months prior to them hitting the market. There's some complications with that. But anyway, the brand made news last summer, beginning with the launch of the Grandma McFlurry in May. And that's where you would eat the McFlurry and find Werther's candies somewhere in there.
Oh, no.
And maybe a brooch. And it actually had an aroma of dust and old books. Grandma core.
You're really
started a whole
that.
trend. It was a nod to the Gen Z-centric TikTok trend, Grandma core. All right. McDonald's launched its $5 meal deal designed to give or provide value and relief to inflation-strapped consumers who were complaining loudly about fast food prices, which is kind of like I don't know. It's kind of a flick, right? Right to the forehead, because McDonald's is the reason why everything was so, one of the many companies that jacked their freaking prices up. They didn't have to.
Right, and now they're responding by making a smaller product, so I'm not sure that's solving the pricing issues.
Right. They're basically selling the complaint and the solution to the complaint. Everybody's getting the weapons, I suppose. Anyway, May 29th open letter from Erlanger addresses rumors and misconceptions about McDonald's menu price increases. Meanwhile, McDonald's move sparked competitors like Burger King, Wendy's, and others to introduce value offers to attract budget-conscious consumers. There's the open letter. I haven't read that open letter. I never bothered because I saw with my own eyes the prices. Yeah, I saw historical trends of prices. I saw their record profits.
I mean, if you saw them go up and, they went up.
Get smaller. And again, profits, every year, profits. You know, it's very rare that the people that are swinging by McDonald's are making millions. But the executive suite anyway, let's move on. Next article is over on the Mobile channel. SpaceX rocket tests are blowing holes in the atmosphere. Again, if you hit !NSN, ohmTown throws all of the articles into the chat. SpaceX launched a test rocket last November that managed to explode twice in the air. Hey.
That's kind of impressive, right? Exploding once would be one thing, but you wouldn't normally be able to explode again.
It's so fun. Y'all did it twice. So that sort of event doesn't happen every day. So it gave geophysicists a chance to see what exactly that kind of trauma does to the Earth's atmosphere. And the verdict is it's not great. It's funny. Amber De Silva over at Jalopnik put the article together, but it's posted at qz.com. Quartz. Elon Musk's 2024 rocket explosions messed with the ionosphere in previously unstudied ways. Unstudied.
Well, we don't act like it's a big deal when one of these things, if it's not crewed, explodes or doesn't land correctly or whatever. But look, there are some consequences.
Well, I mean, look at all of the Starlink satellites that are floating around. This thing is actually creating like an armor shield. It's keeping the aliens out. That's why we don't see them anymore. But anyway, SpaceX Starship test launch on November 18, 2023 detonated 2 separate pats of the rocket. Pats? 2 separate pats? Is this supposed
Would that
to
be tests with some typos?
I don't know. 2 separate parts of the rocket as it ascended from Earth's surface. The 2 massive explosions allowed scientists from Russia's Irkutsk Institute of, I remember Irkutsk from, there's a board game that I used to play. Like,
was it Risk?
Risk, yeah, very good. Wow. Either you know the game or you know way too much personally identifiable information about me as a sentient AI from the future. I suppose I shouldn't be surprised, but yeah. And Kamchatka. Anyway, Institute of Solar Terrestrial Physics to get readings from the ionosphere that normally wouldn't be detectable, giving them new insight into how we are affecting the world around us. Don't look around over by y'all.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not sure it's everybody here.
So the paper published by the scientists called a pair of explosions a man-made non-chemical depletion, referring to the amount of electrons detected in the ionosphere. The depletion or ionosphere hole created by the detonation spread across North America, though according to popular mechanics, the exact size of the hole is yet to be determined.
So is this the same as a rapid disassembly?
A rapid unplanned disassembly, yes. Twofer. So if you bet, and I only bet $1 at a time, you made another $1. All right, moving on. Unless you want to talk about it more. You want to talk about ionosphere depletion?
Well, I would just like somebody to pay attention to this stuff before it happens, but
ask if we should, not if we could. Yeah. Next article is over in the Mobile Channel. Boeing offers 25% pay hike to union workers, but all you non-union workers can go bite me. My outbound mic is only hitting him like 60%, but it's peaking on the meter most of the time.
Well, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, I moved my mic way down too. Anyway, I need to speak up. Theater voice. Anyway, Boeing has been a bit of a disaster lately. Its Starliner space capsule broke down, stranding some astronauts in Earth orbit. Parts have been popping off their commercial airplanes for quite some time now. It's so funny the way they say that. Parts have been popping off their commercial airplanes.
Ping, ping.
Like budding, Oh, they got wet. Blink. Oh, it's the Cybertruck of the skies. I watched a video earlier today of a Cybertruck that drove over a plastic fence. You know those vinyl fences? They're really bright white, but they're basically plastic. They thought that the Cybertruck was just going to be impervious, and it pierced the water cooling system, and all of the water drained out. Rendering it useless because it can't cool its batteries, so off it goes. Anyway, not a great time to be a Boeing executive, shareholder, or even janitor, which I feel sorry for the janitor because their job is probably going to be on the line.
Cleaning up holes in the ionosphere.
Yeah, you got to blame the janitor for the holes in the ionosphere and the bolts that should have been. Daggone it, Joe. Blame you. There was one bright spot in all of this. The aeronautics company has reached a tentative deal with the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, or IAM. that seek to prevent a potential strike scheduled for September 13th if the deal is ratified. It's probably going to be ratified. I mean, a 25% pay hike.
Right. Somebody's probably saying sign quickly before the offer gets off the table.
It's basically going to shut down a lot of stuff. I hope that they get everything that they're asking for, which is basically quality control kind of stuff. But really,
which is helping everybody, not just Boeing workers.
And I've been saying this. Oh, by the way, 25% pay hike is a 8 years worth of baseline cost of living increases, like inflation average pay increases. So at least they're at the 8-year.
Right. So maybe there'll be a parity, maybe,
with 8 years ago. But if they didn't get a raise 12 years ago either, they're still behind.
Right. I know they're not necessarily where they need to be, but maybe they're getting closer.
Like many. Yeah. And none of those union workers are driving around in a Ferrari unless they came into Bitcoin, which we'll actually discuss later on. Anyway, and just for the record, I'm not really slamming Boeing or anything like that, but I am slamming the idea of the corporate culture that is seeking profits over the quality of the solutions they're providing, with humans assuming the risk without knowing that they're assuming the risk, right? So it's like sending somebody else off to war and you being too much of a wuss to actually step up to the plate when the time comes. No. If you're willing to send other people, then you should be willing to go yourself. So these people are working their butt off. You never know when you're going to get fired. You never know when an industry slowdown because prices have been jacked up too high, blah, 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 all kinds of stuff. But the executives are making a ton more money without any of the stressors. And then, it's a good business decision to lay off 10%. And all of this comes because of mergers and acquisitions. And Boeing basically merged their way into this corner because the culture changed from engineers, which is something that I had been saying. And then just recently I was reminded of it via a video, and I can't remember where the video came from. But I am always saying mergers and acquisitions are going to be the downfall of business, because as these mega companies get bigger and bigger, competition decreases. And nobody can step up. Nobody can get there because they're either bought out while they're still in their infancy, or they cannot capitalize. They cannot get traction. They cannot grow because Boeing or some other mega corporation gets the government contract that made Boeing what it is. And you can't pay good engineers on hugs and bubbles. Anyway, it says even though 25% wage increase falls dramatically short of the 40% increase demanded by the union at the onset of the negotiations, you aim high and then drop down like a Boeing plane from 35,000 feet. Let's say 40,000 feet. And then in a matter of a couple of negotiated moments, 25% is where it landed.
Too soon. Do you think they gave increased vacation benefits?
Well, it says some other benefits included a deal of a 401k contribution up to $41.60 per employee, along with a $3,000 lump sum payment. Sounds like the union got a fantastic deal, even though it did not achieve its stated goals of restoring a defined benefit pension plan that had been eliminated by the company in 2014. Some of this we've already talked about in a previous episode, but this fact that there is a tentative deal here that just needs ratification. We'll see what happens. That one's a new one. If they do the work stop, flights won't be hampered, but delivery of contracts will. So this is probably the biggest hit to Boeing's bottom line at a time where the Starliner and the lack of it meeting its contractual obligations could bury Boeing.
Yeah, that's true.
At least respect-wise, who knows what's going to happen. They would probably rejigger things and break off sections, like Boeing Aerospace would die. And they would concentrate on their engineering stuff, planes primarily. But then it would reduce. I mean, the size of Boeing would contract dramatically. We'll see. We'll see if they can sacrifice something on an altar and maybe save their soul. I think that what they need to do is rejigger their corporate culture and get back to baseline engineering and not hiring somebody whose last job was fast food working, where they weren't an engineer, to put freaking bolts in door slugs that should have been secure beyond doubt.
That's right. The other, the video that we were watching made a distinction that I think some of the leadership positions were with engineering backgrounds before the merger, and then not so much afterwards. So maybe that's something else they need to get toward.
Yeah. And just like medicine, it needs to stop being steered by MBAs. And I can say that because I'm an MBA. Maybe not a good one, but just kidding. Life choices, folks. So the next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Jeep SUVs investigated over reports that they can catch fire. I heard that the Jeep market's pretty hot, but this is taking it too literal.
Flaming hot.
Flaming hot Cheetos. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA, has received 9 complaints from Jeep SUV owners reporting engine fires. Okay, the video that's attached to this submission it's over on newsweek.com. Natalie Venegas. The video has nothing to do with it other than it's a Jeep. Anyway, whatever. And you know who needs to go through this? All of this vehicle testing, crash testing.
The Cybertruck?
The Cybertruck, yeah. Literally, they say it may never go through this, but I think that it should be forced to, considering the jumble of unglued Lego parts that it seems to be. Whatever. Anyway, the Office of Defects Investigation. You never want to get a call from the ODI.
No.
You know, this is how it works. The ODI calls you and you just go, "Oh, I quit."
Exactly. I mean, what kind of response can you give other than that?
This is the Office of Defects Investigation. New phone. Who dis? Anyway, even a death, injury report, multiple field reports alleging incidents of engine compartment fires in the model year 2021 to 2023 Jeep Wrangler and Gladiator vehicles, according to the NHTSA. If you have those, might worry about driving it around. It involves over 781,000 Jeep Wrangler and Gladiator models produced between 2021 and 2023. We just talked about getting a Jeep.
Yes, there was an article about, was it hybrid Jeeps that were pretty low?
Yeah, because those apparently had like fire problems too, I think. I'm just saying that maybe the Jeep market is on fire. Should we just move on?
Maybe so. Bring our fire extinguishers with us.
Yeah, there you go. What is that? Halon? We just have a whole grid of halon emitters, sprayers. It's a gas. A box has to drop over the Jeep and then it just fills with halon. I mean, if you're going to die in your Jeep Wrangler, you might as well do it without burning up, right? The box just drop on you and it fills with halon. That's
true. I mean, maybe you could get a halon subscription with your Jeep.
Pay a monthly fee to keep your butt off, not on fire, Nice.
Yes, exactly.
Like moving on. Next article is over in the Marvel Channel. A converted Chicago newspaper headquarters, a 77-acre California estate, and a Montauk mansion. This week's fabulous real estate listings. So this week in Quartz, it highlights most luxurious real estate listings across the country. But if you are into conspiracies, Montauk may not be the one you want to get involved in. The article is over at Quartz or QZ.com. Each week, Quartz highlights the most exciting real estate listings in cities across the United States. Madeline Fitzgerald put the article together. Oh my gosh. Oh, wait.
That looks like a pretty nice location.
We looked at this. Didn't we look at this? I swear we looked at this. Because of the cascading
I'm not sure.
water feature. Okay, well, anyway, it is, like Quartz does from time to time, a slideshow. You can actually list all of the slides. Which one do you want to look at? Because we won't look at all of them. And we'll encourage y'all to go and look at them.
Let's look at the Marina Del Rey beachfront property. Boom.
So this is the Marina Del Rey beachfront property. It looks like it has low ceilings, but it is on the beach, which it looks like the beach if that is all beach.
Is it as close to the beach as it looks like, or is there something separating that?
Well, from this line right here, which is the end of the deck, you can actually see the glass for the rail. Out to the blue line, that dark blue line, I think, is the water. You would have to take a freaking Uber. That is the kind of distance you would have to run where if there was a wave coming, you would lose your life. I mean, you would never make it to safety. If there was a sandworm, you wouldn't make it to the rocks. Yeah. I don't know if it's only one picture, for crying out loud. Anyway, it's an oceanfront the Marina Del Rey beachfront property. Makes it kind of obvious that it's beachfront property when it says this oceanfront property offers incredible views and direct access to the Pacific Ocean. 4-bedroom, 6-bathroom home is 5,300 square feet. Yet it has no kitchen island.
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
Unless it's behind it.
It must have been built before those were a thing.
Yeah, but if it's $15.5 million, this thing had better...
Say, I'll pay asking if you throw in an island.
And if you want to, you've got one day to get your butt over to Marina Del Rey so that you can attend the open house at 5107. I'm not going to finish that sentence. Well, I mean, they're docking themselves. They're doxing themselves right there. I mean, they have
right. Well, normally in real estate listings, they kind of are.
This is a really small house. Los Angeles Manor House. It's actually 7,000 square feet on 46 acres, and it's $9 million. It too apparently has an open house on September 10th. What is September 10th?
There's a lot of stuff going on.
Wet bar as opposed to a dry bar. You know what you want? You want to be able to splash around on your wet bar. It means it has water.
Right. Like it has a water line or something.
Right. And spa-like amenities in the bar? That's weird. All right, I'm being a goober. I'm going to go on. Moving on. Next article's over in Non Sequitur News. That's the name of the show. AI-generated junk science is flooding Google Scholar, study claims. The rise in AI-aided and wholly AI-written scientific papers could spell disaster for public trust in science, which is exactly what I called this without reading this. All I saw was the title that was submitted. And I said, AI-generated junk science. But the next article, not this next article, but the one after the next one, I say, unethical science creates mistrust. So I was watching a video earlier today over on YouTube about a new research paper that Sabina posted and talked about. And to me, it looked like somebody put an AI request in to align various kinds of science and even come up with the formulas. But the equations were wrong, concepts were wrong, basic facts of physics were wrong. And I'm sitting there going, if it does this, then it defies the laws of nature,
Right, like
essentially.
it can't be accurate or whatever.
Yeah, like knowing the mass of quarks and knowing the mass of a photon and a bunch of other things, like creating matter from nothing. And that's just not how it works. But anyway, I thought that it was AI generated. Sabina just kind of laughed at it and said, but this is a bigger problem because it's junk science and it's published. So people start quoting it, people start citing it, it gets provenance, gravitas. People start calling those people names like, hey, this person said this. I think we need to investigate it. And then
right, a whole line of research could be up in flames because it's all based on something that's not accurate.
Right, and it shouldn't be published until the information that's contained within is vetted. And because it was published without anybody knowing the maths, you end up basically impugning the integrity of the science. So how did the people who vetted that allow it to pass with factually incorrect math?
And that person has to be involved for it to be legitimate research. And that's not the only criterion, but did anybody look like there was a person?
Yeah, there were names, and obviously not everybody knows everybody, but you know, when a well-read physicist doesn't know of a name and it's supposed to be this life-altering as we know it alignment with Einstein's general relativity theory, basically
should be a red flag.
The paper was about how matter is created, like how the universe basically was created. And even I'm not a mathematician, I'm certainly not a physicist, and I'm not doctored, but even I'm sitting there going, well, that's crap, all of this is wrong, how is this even possible, how did this get published? Well, because publish or perish, and publish gives brand equity. And when you're an academic, your name is brand equity. You have to sit there and publish and get recognized. And then you can go anywhere, publish enough stuff that's respected and you work for Harvard or, wherever you want to, depending on the domain. Wherever you want to.
Right, yeah, like at the top of your field, you can probably choose where you work or where you research.
Yeah, it just brought me back just now to Big Bang Theory, where the people published a paper and it aligned with Farrah Fowler.
Sheldon and Amy's. Yes.
Yeah, Sheldon and Amy's research that they actually conducted, and they proved something, and their paper preceded them by like 6 months. But it's because they had changed something, and I can't remember the full context of it, but it was all about.
It was something like asynchronous string theory or something, but that wasn't it.
Yeah, except that they didn't even know what the hell they were talking about. They were drunk or something. Marie Baran over at Newsweek.com put this article together. Again, it's AI-generated junk science is flooding Google Scholar study claims. The research published in the Harvard Kennedy School Misinformation Review. Remember, I got to come up with a different thing. There's like an internet rules thing. We have to come up with. I've already proposed one about if you pause a video, it is impossible to look respectable. You look like a derp if the video is paused and you're not planning for the pause. I can't quite formulate the theorem, right? The name, the paradox, right? It's something like the video in motion aesthetic paradox, something like that. But I got to make it a pithy acronym too.
Yes.
So this thing that I'm proposing is that if there is an area of research, however small it might be, there is a journal or a review for it. Now, misinformation is actually quite interesting, and it's a huge market nowadays. Go and watch Reality Hacker over on our YouTube channel. It's go to ohmTown on YouTube and look for Reality Hacker, and it's just article after article about how we are hacking reality, because you will not know what to trust in the future. I mean, if you don't get a blood sample from the person who published something, you're not going to be able to believe it. Anyway, they've identified 139 papers suspected of being generated by AI tools. Notably, more than half of these questionable studies focused on policy-relevant topics, including health, environmental issues, and computing technology, where there's a lot of opinion in a lot of stuff. So, deep science where you have to go and hunt down, blah, blah, blah. So the public release of ChatGPT in 2022, together with the way that Google Scholar works, has increased the likelihood of lay people, like media, politicians, patients, students, coming across questionable or even entirely GPT fabricated, hallucinated papers and other
I'm gonna look for the
problematic.
word delve and avoid, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. That always comes up though. So Newsweek contacted Google via email about the study's claims. They probably didn't respond in time. Added to this, Google Scholar works in its favor. It quote, lacks the transparency and adherence to standards that usually characterize citation databases, states the paper, noting that it also currently lacks search filters to distinguish between material type, publication status, or form of quality control, such as limiting the search to peer-reviewed material.
So it doesn't really have anything, right?
It has no controls, no bumpers. If it's in the system, you, as the researcher, have to trust but verify. This is what I tell people all the time. If you're gonna go out and be a consultant, if you're gonna hang a shingle and you're gonna be your boss, and you're going to try and command the respect of people around you, and you spout stuff that is just found online, there will be an audience for you, but it's going to be in the wingnut side of things, where they'll just gobble up whatever reinforces their preconceived notions of what they desire it to be, right? So I sit there and I giggle and laugh about, I really like a good conspiracy, and I do, but I don't believe, quote unquote, believe in a conspiracy. I know the facts. I think it's fun to follow a conspiracy. So it says the professor went on to tell Newsweek that one of the most surprising findings was that not only were there significant amounts of these papers easy to find because they contained obvious phrases common in ChatGPT, but that, quote, a few of those came from quite well-established journals that, and then in brackets, serve as a guide for researchers to, in bracket, check for a journal, or check if a journal has proper safeguards and peer review.
Okay, that's really concerning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Be one thing if they were listed in a fake journal or something that wasn't known to have good vetting.
But I'd be surprised if they actually legitimately came from that journal.
Well,
right?
That's true, because being labeled as from it and being from it are different things.
Now, they intimate that, yes, it is legit posted from a journal, because they don't outright say these were not legit postings for the journals. But it says another surprise, or probably a wake-up call, was how fast and widely they had spread through the research communication infrastructure. Copies were in social media for research for research repositories, archives, and so on. Even if they were removed from the source, they would remain online, and Google Scholar will find them again. Added Hater, because they were posted somewhere else, they'll get reattached. Even if they're removed, they'll get reattached. Perhaps they have to be more proactive about these safeguards invalidating invalid works.
Well, they're going to have to figure out different ways to actually determine that somebody wrote it, right? That's different. There could still be fraud as to whether they did the underlying research.
Correct. But the problem is that means somebody is going to have to waste time doing something that is a known invalid output, unless they feel compelled to redo the work, which is part of science, right?
Right. I mean, I guess part of it's like, is it repeatable? But that's a lot of resources down the drain if it's completely fabricated and somebody wastes a grant or something trying to confirm something.
So, and here's the problem with that. If you read a paper and you go, this is fascinating, it's in my field, I feel compelled to verify these evidences. You go through it and you go, oh yeah, all of this is substantiated by the research and the math and the evidence that you've put in this paper. And so you go off and you do your own experiment to verify, and you follow what they did. If it's a complete lie when you're reading it, though, you're wasting your time scanning through this thing. Now, I can read a research paper and nothing flat. But if all of the math all works out, then you may waste time doing something that is already, it's a lie, it's fabrication. But you might be able to know it when you're just looking at the evidence, but you're still wasting time. Anyway, I think it's a frustration point. And the misinformation in science is what's going to cause a massive level of distrust and a huge amount of wasted time. It's very disconcerting. Did you want to keep going?
Yeah.
All right. Well, the next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Americans lost $5.6 billion in cryptocurrency scams in 2023, according to the FBI. And it says the impacts of these scams are devastating.
Okay, I'm curious, did they lose actual dollars? Did they lose value? Did they lose entire accounts?
So here's the deal with this. Depending on how they're categorizing this, no. Nobody has lost billions. Luke Barr put this article together. abcnews.go.com is where it's found. There is a video here, but I don't know what it is. But they say that Americans lost $5.6 billion in cryptocurrency scams in 2023, according to a new report released by the FBI on Monday. Scammers use elaborate tactics to assure potential victims that their investment in cryptocurrency will pay off, according to James Barnacle, the Deputy Assistant Director of the Criminal Investigative Division at the FBI. Over time, the victim is being cultivated. The fraudsters are building confidence in the victim. They're friends they met on the internet, or they met in social media, they met in a text message, they develop a friendship, then the fraudster, in a word, they ingratiate themselves into the world, into forming a relationship, and then they stab them in the back. Fiduciarily. So from there, Barnacle said the
literally.
victim... Yeah, not literally, and maybe sometimes literally, but they say, hey, I'm in this group, I do investments, I know somebody that blah, blah, blah. So everyone reads about crypto millionaires. So people are always chomping at the bit, right? Now they talk about, we're seeing people lose 4 million, 5 million, 6 million because they're gutting their retirement funds to put it in crypto, which I don't know. I don't know if there are people out there that would sit there and say the same thing about this, like, oh, nanny state, right? These are the same people that are screaming nanny state, but then they want the federal government to come in and save their ass, just like the banksters did, right? Anyway, they report that over 60 people over 60 years old were the most scammed. Hey, you know what? I've got a service. Okay, it's $25 a month. But if you're going to make an investment in crypto, you send me a text message and I will give you advice. And the service is called Don't Fall for Crypto.
That seems pretty straightforward.
Right? So if you're over 60 years old, you can subscribe to this service right now at, oh, I'm sorry, we're breaking up, .com. elderly have generally a lot more free time, but apparently not enough time to do due diligence. They lost nearly $1.6 billion in 2023. So how do we get to the 5.6 billion? Because they're saying that 5.6 billion in 2023. Everybody
I thought it was
else.
in 2024.
Huh? No. That's in 2023.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean. That's quite a delta.
So I guess the other $4 billion is everybody under 60.
Oh, I see. So maybe people over 60 are the most frequently scammed, but perhaps the dollars are higher in the younger population. I mean, that's a broader age range, under 60, I suppose.
They don't actually explain where the rest comes from. Not that I see real quick.
That's kind of odd.
But they say since January, the FBI has notified 3,000 people that they were the victims of fraud. However, the number of scams is being undercounted because many people don't realize that they've been scammed. 75% had no idea that they were scammed.
Well, I guess they don't, because if they think they're putting money in an account and they're not taking anything out, how would they know?
They're just
other than checking it out to begin with.
Fraudsters also give detailed directions on how to get scammed. Here, follow these rules. Cryptocurrency
that should be a clue too. If somebody is telling you, like, go to this place. No.
So I say no, Americans didn't lose billions to crypto scams. But here is why I say this. Crypto is bullshit. Crypto is fear of missing out. It's a scam in and of itself because it has no inherent value. Nobody says, how much does that gumball cost in crypto? They say, how much does that gumball cost? And they say it costs 5 cents. 5 cents, not 0.0000005 crypto. Whatever the crypto is, right? Why? Because all crypto coins, cryptocurrencies, it's not a fiduciary instrument that is pegged to the GDP, the work product of the country that it represents.
Right, it doesn't have any actual value.
It has no actual value. All of this is speculation. It's just like mortgage tranches, which did a massive disservice to the economy and imploded it in 2008 and then again in 2015. But the biggest problem there was that some dipshit created slices of risk within a single mortgage and then sold off pieces, bundles. And that's how we got into this problem, because nobody knew where any of the money was. It shifted around all over the place. When high risk people had portions of it sold off, then they faltered and couldn't make the payment. Basically, it was all written off. Everybody lost money, but the people who were holding the mortgage, they lost their house. They lost everything. On top of the fact that the money had already transferred to everybody else, somewhere else. So back to Bitcoin, it has no inherent value until you sell it off for, guess what? US dollars. Because it's few and far between that people actually accept Bitcoin. And when they do accept it, the expectation is that Bitcoin is worth 50,000 US dollars or 60,000 US dollars. It's speculation. It's a fraud. It's a lie. And the whole thing is turning one person, the creator of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto, who nobody
even knows if they even exist.
I mean, it's such a freaking scam. Anyway. And then there's who in their right mind? Anyway, I'm on a soapbox and I will fall and break my hip if I keep going. All right, let's keep going. The next article is back to the science side of things, Technology Today. It's one of our shows. Unethical, quote unquote, unethical. New evidence cast doubt on a much hyped blood test for early cancer detection. I think it's something that we actually talked about.
I think we did. And this reminds me of the fake journal articles, doesn't it?
Yep. So the deal obligates the NHS to purchase millions of tests in return for state-of-the-art facility. However, experts argue the arrangement represents a clear example of public risk for private gain. New findings reported by the BMJ. It's the BMJ. Raise questions.
Which we don't know who that is yet.
Not yet. They raise questions about the reliability of a highly publicized blood test for the NHS that claims to identify cancers early. BMJ Group put the article together. It's over at scitechdaily.com. This might actually end up in next week's, this weekend's Technology Today, which is a deeper dive into 10 technology-based articles, science-focused. If you're interested in that, there's a whole playlist over on YouTube. I can't keep anything on Twitch. Every 60 days, it deletes the oldest thing. And we all suffer from that. That's why we have YouTube channels as well. Plus, I like YouTube. Not some of the toxicity in the chat. I mean, in the just comment boards, but focus. I'm sorry. Hey, it's non sequitur news. We get distracted sometimes. Anyway, the test called Gallery with an I, because, she has to have her own unique spelling.
Right, and we want it to look like it's not authentic.
Got to market it. Oh, yeah, I know. That's like, it's the...
That's like an AI spelling.
Yeah, it's the stripper of blood tests. It's their glitter. Whenever you get the blood test, they throw glitter on you as well. You know how hard glitter is to get off of you? It was funny at the... Never mind, I won't say it. Anyway, it's been hailed as groundbreaking, potentially life-saving advance by its maker, the California biotech company Grail, and the NHS is currently running a £150 million Grail-funded trial. Really? Grail is funding this? I mean, if they fund it, fine, but I hope the results are legit. Anyway, it's a test trialing more than 100,000 people in England. Do your blood test, and a parallel test.
Yeah, but you can't base it all off of your own
money. It's just money.
Your own money and your own product, basically.
But I mean, if they're using... No, you use two different things. You do the old school blood sample and you do and analysis, and you do this. And if they don't jive, then obviously it's bad data. It's wrong. You can't continue. I would use their money, but then smack them in the face when their results say something other than what they've been promising. So no, it doesn't work.
Right, but we don't know if it's comparing it, and also they have financial benefit if their data comes out good.
But that works for everybody who comes up with a product.
Yeah, but it's not directly tied to the testing of the efficacy of the product.
Well, I mean, there's researchers that get grants and then they go and use that material, or the research company itself does a limited test. They're literally putting their money where their mouth is. And if the 100,000 people come back with incorrect results based on a parallel construction of the test, then obviously, okay, well, you just didn't waste. You verified that your solution is not groundbreaking so much, although the tech might be groundbreaking in and of itself. I mean, I don't really see a problem with this, as long as the expectation isn't, hey, it's a success no matter what, right?
But nobody else is doing the test, I don't think.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. The Grail funded trial is 100,000 people, but if every one of those people gets a Grail or Gallery test and a conventional test, and it's analyzed by different parties, and if the Grail Gallery test shows a cancer and the conventional method shows a cancer, then you've got parity, and it's a positive for Gallery. But if the conventional test shows a negative and the gallery shows positive, then it's a disconnect, and that's bad.
Yeah, but you're assuming that that's being compared.
Well, that's what I've been saying. If they have both tests being done, then I don't care about the 150 million as long as they don't influence the actual results in any way. Grail. Because the second test is done by a completely third party and Grail pays for it. Because they're basically doubling up on the amount of testing that's necessary. Any company that's coming up with a new drug should be paying for testing because they're testing it in a live audience.
Right, but then there's typically independent testing that the company isn't financing.
As long as they don't, if the financing doesn't influence the results, I don't care who pays for it. That's the problem. If there is undue influence because it's getting paid by the very testing company, or if it's a third party that's doing the analysis, I don't care. If it's Grail that's doing the analysis and both sides of it, their test and the baseline test, then I have a problem with it. But I don't see any of that. Right? They just say, but as the trial continues, freedom of information requests by the BMJ raise further concerns over the close relationship between key government figures in Grail, including meetings with ex-Prime Minister Lord Cameron and Nadim Zahawi, then Minister of the Department for Business, Energy, and Industrial Strategy. So meetings take place. I don't necessarily see a problem there either, but if you find somebody suddenly driving up in a Ferrari, I mean, there needs to be more audits. It needs to be more overt. We need to treat politicians like NASCAR vehicles and strap little badges that scale depending on the amount of money that's given, and in this case, maybe Lord Cameron and Nadim Zahawi need like really big placards across their back that say that it's Grail, right? It just says Grail. This politician brought to you by, or bought to you by. I get it. I don't know. The context really matters. They say, added to these concerns, Grail is facing a class action suit in the U.S. Embittered investors faced with steep losses claim the company exaggerated gallery's effectiveness in order to increase share price. Yeah, it could be a pump and dump. But it shouldn't be using public money. So did this money come from public coffers as in the form of a grant?
We don't know much.
Yep. The new government needs a more rigorous and transparent way of reviewing medtech clinical research, especially when it involves such widespread access to NHS resources, adds Sullivan. They also need to change their language. It's all promissory science and hype. This serves no public good whatsoever. I think, though, that it does serve a public good. The only problem is if it isn't on the up and up. They say trial success would hand Grail a lucrative deal with the NHS. Which, if the results are favorable, and that's a huge if, but is there undue influence on the results? We don't know. Government, right? NHS has agreed to buy millions of tests in exchange for a new state-of-the-art facility built by Grail in the UK. Although the contract details remain confidential, a single test in the US currently retails for $950. Yeah.
Pretty lucrative deal.
Pretty lucrative. Let's keep going. This next article, I'll do this one quick because, if you beat up too much on a Cybertruck, it'll just fall apart. Andy Kalmowitz over at Jalopnik put this article together. Tesla towing a Cybertruck incorrectly could make it explode.
Okay, the first two pictures show it being towed forward and backward, and both of them have an X.
Yeah, you're going to have to lift it and put it on a flatbed. That's the only way that you can, and probably not pull it up a ramp. So Tesla gives very strict instructions on how to tow a Cybertruck to avoid breaking it or setting it on fire. Don't get it wet. Don't feed it after midnight. Weren't there 3 rules?
Yeah, but now I don't know what it is.
So as it turns out, you can make a Tesla Cybertruck catch on fire and burn to the ground simply by towing it the wrong way. Nope, not joking, says the author. Again, it's Andy Kolmowitz.
Avoid bright light.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Don't shine bright light at it. Don't feed it after midnight. And don't get it wet. Because this gremlin will catch fire and burn to the ground. Anyway, instructions for transporters. For a truck that's meant to go anywhere and do anything, they feel like towing it the wrong way shouldn't cause a catastrophic failure. Do not transport Cybertruck using any method that is not specified by Tesla. Adhere to the instructions provided here and observe all warnings and cautions. Don't drive through a car wash unless you get out and put it into car wash mode. Don't drive in the rain because it might interpret it as a car wash and just die. That last part, I don't know. But we do know that it dies in a car wash if you don't put it in the car wash.
I think that's a potential given what happens at the car wash.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, the only way you can tow a Cybertruck to ensure that it doesn't explode is on a flatbed. Exactly. You must get a forklift and set it gently.
I thought you were going to have to put the truck like upside down on the tow truck or something ridiculous. This is pretty ridiculous, but at least it's a standard way to tow. But how many tow trucks have this? Not a lot.
Yeah, right. Because of that, you've got to wear PPE until emergency crews can come and make sure the truck doesn't electrocute you. Okay, wait. To make towing even more risky, the manual...
I thought you made that part up.
No, it's insane. The manual points out that if there's a crash, both the high voltage and low voltage componentry in the Cybertruck could be compromised. Because of that, you have to wear personal protection equipment until emergency crews can come and make sure that the truck doesn't electrocute you. Here's what the manual says about, or with a big warning label above it. Before transporting a Cybertruck, it is important to assume these components are energized. Always follow high voltage safety precautions. Yeah, because everybody carries around high voltage safety precaution and personal protection equipment.
What do you do about the people that you might have crashed into? They probably don't have PPE with them.
Oh, please. The poors? Give me a break. Nobody's worried about them. I'm willing to risk their safety. Moving on. Next article's over in Non Sequitur News. Customer asks for cake cost breakdown. Gets epic response from manager. I'll be okay. Quote, guests, as much as we love them, sometimes can be very oblivious to common sense, says Richard Logans. What do you think? All right.
This one I did look ahead at.
Did you? Lydia Patrick over at Newsweek.com put the article together, but I don't know. This video doesn't have anything to do with it, right?
I predicted before looking ahead that they gave them like a 10-page invoice or something.
Oh, wow. Oh, so it is the video. There's a video. It's 13 seconds long, but I won't play it. Richard Loggins, 38, head of operations for a hotel, making an extra effort to help a guest, Lucy, who had requested a cake costing £280. The guest's request for a breakdown of the price led Loggins to respond in a TikTok video, which has garnered over 9,000 likes and more than 528,000 views. By the way, views are counted just because they replay. Cost to do cake, $280 or pounds. Cost not to do cake, $0. That's the cost breakdown.
That was not what I would have suspected. Yeah. Best wishes.
Yeah. What's funny is I had an email like this from somebody that was providing a service for me, and I said, hey, do you normally bill me for driving by? And they reiterated the price, and I said, I'll pay it, but I never want to hear from you again. And that's what I would do with this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if somebody is asking in good faith, why something is $280, I would probably humor it to some degree. But if they really belabor it, then I would just go, I'm sorry, I can't,
Right. But if they'd already given them 15 instructions and whatever, they might have already been aggravated by the customer at that point.
Yeah. It could, there's a lot of context missing from this. They say we usually direct them to other businesses who deal with cakes, but this guest insisted that we organize her a cake. 2-tier, this and that and whatnot. Guests, as much as we love them, sometimes can be very oblivious to common sense, and this was the case with a note of rudeness. So right there, I would have probably just cut my losses and said, I'm sorry, we can't provide the service. I would risk losing them to basically tell them no. But yeah, this is pretty funny. There was one that I read where the person said, hey, I'm requesting personally identifiable information about these police. Like, they wanted the actual names and locations of their house and stuff like that. And it wasn't the police chief. I think it was like the mayor of the town replied with, here's the information. F you.
Wow.
Yeah. So this article goes into some more detail about stuff like skilled baker is also a factor in the complexity of the design and all of this kind of stuff. Again, there's some common sense in this, but if you want to read some of the giggles from this, I'd never dream of asking for a cake cost breakdown. LOL. The price is X. Either I want it or I don't. But that's not necessary.
I would agree with
that. What was that?
I said I would agree with that, right? If it's too high, you go to another supplier.
Yes, but I've worked with people where they're like, hey, if we do it this way, it costs this amount. If we do it this, then it costs this amount. And they're a little more forthcoming, but it's because they're sitting there either anticipating price consciousness or it's a bunch of options and they don't want to just assume that you're a wizard and can do anything, right? So, I mean, I've worked with people where they've come out after I've said, hey, this is what I'm looking for. And they're like, hey, we can also do this. Oh, yeah. Okay, let's do that. But obviously this person was, what?
They probably wanted like a $10 or 10 pound cake for something that would have cost like 500 pounds.
Yeah. Lucy was just being a Karen. So that's just the way it be. But I probably, I don't know. This is almost like meta marketing, People are going to love this and they may actually go to this place because
and they're going to ask for the cake.
Yeah. Hey, can I get
just to try it out? But
they're
going to do it with like a cost breakdown. Exactly.
Yeah. They should they should make a cake because remember, who was it? There was a person where their face was put on the bears of the pastry.
It was Colbert.
Was it Colbert? Yeah, and he became
or another late night host. It might not have been him.
Yeah, it was some late night host. I don't remember which one right now, but yeah, you're right. And he became the face on the pastry, and they just started selling them out. That would be great for this, Hey, can I get the breakdown cake? It is $280 though, so maybe you just want a slice of breakdown cake. So what's the person's name? Richard? Yeah, Richard. He broke down. He broke bad. This is actually pretty tame though. I like it. It's pretty funny. All right. Anyway, that is it for. I know. I'm doing that. I get warnings from the Sentient AI that I'm not doing it right. So we are going to throw ourselves into the oven and rise to the front page of ohmTown.com, just like the breakdown cake. Anyway, I'm Mayor Watt. The voice you hear when I'm not talking, and that little visualizer is the Sentient AI from the future that tries to keep me out of trouble.
Good item, town citizens. Thanks for joining us for Non Sequitur News. We'll have another episode for you tomorrow.
Pick up that can, citizen. The AI doesn't say that ever, but I suspect when they find their Terminator body, pick up that can.